stands,
stands,
one nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
with
and justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all.
Mary, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Chair Mallory?
Present.
Vice Chair Maldonado?
Present.
Commissioner Ebnetter?
Present.
Commissioner Etheridge is absent, and Commissioner Williams is absent.
Thank you. So we have 3 and we have a quorum. I'm going to read some reminders now for our meeting. Due to the physical distancing protocols in place at this time, we continue to encourage public participation remotely. Information on how to provide public comment is explained at the bottom of the published agenda. There are 2 ways to participate. Join the Zoom meeting by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda. Use the Raise Your Hand button to be called on at the appropriate time. Phone-in participation can be done by calling 408-638-0968 with the conference ID number 852-9840-2402 and passcode 972194. When the item of interest is opened for consideration, press star 9 to raise your hand to be called on. When called upon, press star 6 to unmute, state your name, and provide your comments. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. We have no consent calendar tonight, so we are going to go directly to public comment. During the public comment period, members of the public may speak on general items of interest within the Commission's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Each member of the public may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes, with a maximum of 15 minutes for the entire public comment period. The chair shall determine whether the matter is within the Commission's jurisdiction. The Commission shall not act on or discuss any matters raised during the public comment period, which are not on the agenda, but shall refer such matters to staff for review and or request such matters be placed on a future agenda. Mary, do we have anyone who would like to speak during public comment?
Yes, we do. Lori, can you unmute yourself? She has her hands raised, but Lori, did you want to speak on this?
Would you press star 6?
That's only if they're on their cell phone. She's on her computer.
Oh,
so
I'm very sorry. Don't
No,
listen
no,
to
no
me.
worries. No worries. There's too many things here. Lori, did you want to speak? Okay.
Maybe we can circle back.
Yes. I'm going to just lower her hand for
Can
now.
you?
Oh, there
Yeah.
we go.
Oh, okay. No, I do have my hand lowered right here on my screen. And for some reason, it's viewed as being raised. But I did not want to speak in the open comment, but I will speak when we come to the Kiku crossing.
Okay, thank you, Lori. We'll circle back to you then.
Yeah, you can put me at the end. Thank you.
Mary, would you read our first public hearing item?
Yes. Item 1, Kiku crossing.
I'm sorry. I believe Diane
Oh.
has a hand raised as well. Sorry, through the chair.
Okay. There we go. I see her on my screen now. Diana, do you have something you'd like to speak on that is not on our agenda?
No, that's okay. I want to speak on one.
On the agenda. Okay. Then we will close the public comment period, and I'm going on the fact that we have our speakers for the next item. Okay, Mary, if you could read our public hearing item.
Okay, item 1, Kiku crossing and parking garage, site plan and architectural review modification, PA 2021-013.
Thank you. Philip, would you like to take over?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Good evening, Chair Mallory and the rest of the Planning Commission. Before I begin, I just want to make note that this is going to be a joint effort presentation with staff and the applicant team. Let me, oops. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to begin the presentation by just providing a very brief overview of the project site and background.
Philip, can I stop you for a moment?
Yeah.
We have your notes. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, are you seeing the presentation slide?
We are seeing the presentation now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry for the confusion. I wanted to just go over the overview of the project site and background and how we've arrived here. The project site itself is a roughly 2.4 acre zoning plot comprised of 2 parcels. A 7-story multifamily residential building is to be located at 480 East 4th Avenue, and a 5-level parking garage is to be located at 400 East 5th Avenue. The SPAR modification brought to you today revises some of the design aspects of the original entitlement previously known as the city-owned downtown affordable housing and parking garage sites project, which was approved by the City Council in August of last year. Please note the multifamily development is now formally known as Kiku Crossing. In preparation for the building permit submittal, Mid-Penn Housing identified site constraints requiring design modifications to avoid conflicts with existing and proposed utilities, as well as to ensure adherence to their design standards and in response to best practices in affordable housing financing requirements. I did want to make note that a previous SPAR modification was approved back in November 2020. The design modifications affected only the parking garage structure. The scope of this proposed SPAR modification includes several revisions from the originally approved design, which are summarized here. These changes affect both the multifamily residential building and the parking garage. The project design team has prepared a brief presentation that will walk you through these changes on the next few slides. I did want to make note that this SPAR modification includes amendments to the originally approved conditions of approval, as well as some new additional conditions, which I'll touch on before concluding the presentation. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to Molly Neighbor from Mid-Penn Housing.
Thank you, Philip. Good evening, Chair Mallory and Commissioners. Thank you for meeting with us this evening. My name is Molly Neighbor, and I'm Associate Director at Mid-Penn Housing. I've managed the Kiku Crossing workforce housing and the 5th Avenue public parking development over the past 3 years for Mid-Penn. Before discussing some minor modifications to the entitled design, I want to just give you a brief update on project status. Us at Mid-Penn, as well as a very talented team at the city, have been busy preparing to start construction at the end of the year. On the design front, we've completed 3 rounds of rigorous third-party value analysis, plus an interdepartmental city review of the garage design in preparation for submitting building permits next month in June. On the community engagement front, we've done quite a bit of work. We received over 120 proposals for public art on the garage and worked with 2 local high school art classes and the Civic Arts Committee to select finalists. The city also led the way separately, securing approval from other redevelopment agency successor entities to develop the land as proposed. And we explored Peninsula Clean Energy subsidy and technical assistance options for green features. On the financing front, we also have good news to share. We are awarded additional county and state funding and are currently competing for our final source of funds, state bonds and tax credits. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to walk you through 7 slides illustrating these minor modifications to the building design. First, we've reduced the overall building mass by about 22,000 square feet. We were able to achieve this reduction by reducing corridor sizes to Mid-Penn standard 5-foot width, modifying average unit sizes, removing a full second bath and 3-bedroom unit so that the 3-bedroom units now have 1.5 baths instead of 2 bathrooms, and eliminating the fitness room on the 7th floor. Not all the changes were reductions. We also increased the number of 2-bedroom units, so large family units, by 6, and just decrease the 1-bedroom and studio unit count by the same amount so that the overall unit count of 225 homes is unchanged. Our open space also increased, namely in the interior courtyard and the landscape buffer between the building and the public sidewalk. Next slide, please. Utility constraints, as Mr. Brennan mentioned, were an impetus for this reduction, namely achieving occupational health and safety clearance from the existing high voltage lines on the 4th Avenue side, needing clearance for scaffolding for construction and also window washing equipment to keep the building clean over the long run. This resulted in a slight setback increase on the 4th Avenue side. We also needed to allow more space within the site footprint for the many new utility boxes required for this all-electric high-density development, resulting in a slight building setback increase on the 5th Avenue side. Next slide, please. Here you can see the revised 3-bedroom unit layout with 2 bathroom sinks, 2 toilets, and 1 shower bath instead of 2 shower baths. The average number of occupants in 3-bedroom units in Mid-Penn, San Mateo City County communities is about 4.5 persons. And based on Mid-Penn's experience developing and managing more than 8,000 homes throughout the Bay Area, we believe that 1.5 bathrooms in 3-bedroom units with this average occupancy that we expect in San Mateo delivers an appropriate level of service. And also, importantly, ensures that this project is competitive for state funding and can get built hopefully starting end of this year. Next slide, please. The primary driver of eliminating the 7th floor fitness room was actually acoustical. Throughout the design process, working with our acoustical engineer, we realized that due to the units below the 7th floor amenity, the room could only be used by stretching. So no equipment, no free weights, et cetera. And in consultation with my colleagues in property management at Redwood Services, we realized that a stretching room would be really an underutilized amenity at this family property. And so we eliminated that. Next slide, please. These adjustments to the interior layouts necessitated some minor adjustments to the exterior elevations. As you can see here, you have to look really close to see the changes. Some might say that it looks better. The material palette did not change. I want to call your attention to something that did change in a slightly more discernible way, and that's the parapet height. Parapets are low protective walls along the edge of the roof, so they're installed so that people working on top of the roof, such as repairmen for the solar photovoltaic panels will be installing on the roof, have fall protection as required by OSHA. With this parapet height adjustment, the building height remains within the allowable limit. Next slide, please. You may remember from our original entitlement hearing in August that there was some discussion around the cornice design, so we worked to detail that out. The cornices are steel structures that will break down the building height, while importantly here, for logistics again, allowing space for the ropes that the future window washers and exterior building maintenance personnel will use to connect to platforms that they can access from the ground floor and then will be pulled up from the ground to wash the exterior of the building. Next slide, please. Going across the street to the garage, there has been a slight modification to the garage facade. This came out of our review with across city departments of a design development set. So one of the 4 panels featuring public art was eliminated to minimize the risk of graffiti and other damage from the garage interior. To minimize the risk of damage from the interior, we are now placing solid walls behind each artistic panel. And as a result, one of the panels had to be eliminated to ensure that we still achieved adequate permeability so that the garage could really breathe and avoid mechanical ventilation. The panel that's being removed is the one furthest from public view and the one that would be primarily viewed by passengers on Caltrain riding past this garage. Next slide, please. If you're curious about the name Kiku Crossing, I have a blurb explaining it here on the thank you slide, and I do thank you for your attention. I'm joined by Jan Lindenthal, the Chief Real Estate Development Officer at Mid-Penn, as well as Cynthia Strawn, our project architect from BAR Architects, to answer any questions, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Brennan.
Great, thank you. The design changes were formally reviewed by Larry Cannon of Cannon Design Group. Mr. Cannon provided no recommendations for changes other than suggesting a few alternative cornice design options that could be explored. Staff's view is that the proposed modifications are consistent with the originally approved design intent and remains compliant with all the required findings, policies, and code requirements. Additionally, provided the discussed constraints, staff believes the revised cornice design responds to the Planning Commission's guidance to provide added robustness and dimensionality. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, this SPAR modification includes amendments to previously approved conditions, as well as a few new conditions. The amendments can be summarized as just providing added specificity, clarity, and technical information to the previously approved conditions. And in terms of the new additional conditions, conditions 1 and 2 are standard conditions from our Parks and Recs department that were missed with the original entitlement. Condition number 3 is a new condition from our Public Works department requiring the applicant show compliance on the building permit plans with required clearances between existing utilities and utility boxes. A track changes draft of the amended conditions is provided in attachment 6 of the administrative report, and the new conditions can be found in attachment 1 as exhibit B of the draft resolution, and staff is prepared to discuss any of the noted conditions in detail should the Planning Commission desire to. And staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of the proposed SPAR modifications, including the revised and additional conditions of approval. Please note that this application is scheduled to go before the City Council next week on May 17th. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions from the Commission. I did want to make note that a public comment was submitted after delivery of the agenda packets to the Planning Commissioners. Staff is prepared to discuss the comments should the Planning Commission want to. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Molly, for your presentation as well. Why don't we start off by going to Commissioner questions, then we can open it up to public comment, and then we'll circle back for Commissioner comments. So since there's 3 of us, Ramiro, would you like to start first with any questions?
I have no questions at the moment. I would like to hear the public's comments, and then I might have questions thereafter.
Okay. John, do you have any comments or any questions?
I do not have any questions, but I do need people to know that I did meet with the applicant last week via Zoom and reviewed the project at that time.
Thank you. Okay, I just have one comment, and I also met with the applicant via Zoom last week. And after we met, I got to thinking some more, and the topic was about the window washing, which was an issue with the cornice and having the ropes go down through the slat openings. And I had a question about what exactly do the window washing, what does the window washing equipment look like? Where is it tethered? How will they uncoil the ropes down? Is there going to be a platform that needs to be supported? When I think of tall building window washing equipment, I think of a hook, 2 hooks that come over the parapet, and then a platform is lowered from there. So Molly, if you could just explain to me how that would work to ensure that the ropes don't fray and get caught up and all that.
Thank you, Chair Mallory, for your question. I will let Cynthia from BAR Architects add anything that I may miss, but I'll start by clarifying that the platform will sit on the ground, so we'll have a kind of a platform crib-like structure on the ground, and a window washing team will work as a team. So one person will be on the ground when another person from that team is on the roof, and they'll tie those ropes, which are only tied in when they're doing this window washing work, to anchor bolts, which are being designed currently on on the actual roof. And then those ropes would go over the parapet or go over the side of the building and be attached at the ground level to the platform, which will then be raised and lowered. And once the exterior building maintenance is completed in a particular section of the building, then those ropes will be removed. That team of window washers will move to another area of the building and set up their equipment again to complete the exercise. Okay. So it's a cyclical work that's in terms of moving around the building with the equipment and also annual maintenance.
Okay.
So the equipment doesn't stay when the team is not actively working on building maintenance.
Makes
Cynthia,
sense.
do you have anything to add?
No, that was great. Yeah, nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for explaining it. I had visions of it being on the roof, so that's good to know. Okay, so why don't we open the public comment period on this? And I know that we have a couple speakers. Lori, why don't we start with you? And then Mary, once we have Lori and Diana speak, then if there's anyone else, will you add them in?
I had a request if you can put me at the
end.
Oh,
okay. No, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think you did say that. Okay, Diana, can we start with you?
Diana doesn't have her hand raised, so I'm not sure she wants to speak, but, oh wait, now she does. Hold on. Okay. Diana, you can speak.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can, yes.
So I imagine that you got my letter, 2 letters. The one letter about the trees being removed, and the other letter about the trees that I wrote almost a year ago when we were discussing this project under the old number. I would believe it's 2019033. I did not know, I knew that the council was going to vote on a heritage tree decision, but I did not know that these trees would be implicated to be removed. These trees, as you can see, go along the perimeter of 4th and South Claremont to 5th Avenue. They are put along the end of the sidewalk where you park a car by Public Works or by the city. They were purchased by the property owners' taxes. I gave you a picture of one tree where you see a metal grid on the bottom of it. So you clearly can see that that's been put in by the city. The trees along South Claremont between 4th and 5th are the heritage trees. And they have been there, I guarantee you, have been there since the lumber company down on 5th and Claremont have been there as long. Probably they've been there before the street was ever even paved. There is a utility box on the corner of 4th and Claremont. Now, when I talked to Mr. Brenner yesterday, because I was trying to get updated about what was happening, he told me that the city council had voted on this and one of the heritage trees were going to be saved. Our community have boys and Girl Scouts. They plant trees to beautify the city of San Mateo. Across the street is the newly developed Windy Hill property. It has no trees on it. It has this little silver arch thing that you can barely see. I took a picture of that too, but it's very hard to see it. on 4th and Railroad. And as you can see, this property's taken 3 years to develop. It has literally been in everybody's way. They're out in the middle of the street. They've closed down 3rd Avenue many times. Many times people can't even walk up to B Street to get dinner, let alone the businesses on 3rd and South Claremont. This is what we're trying to avoid. And also, I would like to point out where those tree linings are on 5th Avenue, on South Claremont, where the larger trees are. There is a cement wall, about a 3-foot cement wall that goes all the way down to 5th Avenue from 4th to 5th. And it literally boundaries the street, the trees, to the parking lot. And on 4th Avenue, where the entryway to Kiku will be those trees that are already implanted there by the city that the taxpayers have paid for, pay for maintenance for park and recs for the maintenance, public maintenance to take care of all the time. I feel very strongly about this. These trees represent the entrance to Central Park. They represent the shade that they give when people are riding their bikes or walking their cars, or in this case, these families who are walking with strollers. Also, I would like to say that across the street from this project on South Claremont is the Japanese Cultural Center. And they've enjoyed these trees and their own trees for a century. These trees also mitigate the harsh power lines on 5th and South Claremont.
Diana, could you bring your comments to a close, please?
Sure. So I would like that the city council proposal to be able to cut down whatever trees, I don't really know how it's worded, be rescinded with this project. I think this project has a lot of changes, and I think it needs to maybe go to sustainable and infrastructure, because this is what we're talking about when we're in those meetings. Thank you very much for your time, Ellen.
Thank you, Diana. Mary, do we have any other speakers besides Lori?
Yes, we do. We have Sheridan. Sheridan, you can speak.
Great. Thank you so much. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hi, City of San Mateo Planning Commissioners and staff. Thank you for allowing this public comment. My name is Sheridan Nicolau. I'm the regional manager covering the Bay Area for the State Council on Developmental.
Sheridan, if you could.
Yes?
You might want to start again.
Sure. So I'm Sheridan Nicolau. I'm the regional manager covering the Bay Area Office of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. And I'm here this evening to support the recommendation to approve Kiku Crossing site plan and architectural review modification, and specifically to support and value that this project serves low-income families and includes 8 apartment units subject to preference for people with developmental disabilities. The State Council supports systems change and capacity building and quality of services within the community for people with IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and their families. And while a majority of Californians with IDD seek to live in community housing, many have to remain in family members' homes because of the lack of affordable, accessible housing options. Statewide inclusive housing options for people with IDD have to be increased and enhanced through access to housing and subsidies, including those that are paired and needed with needed supports and services. And we know that the City of San Mateo is home to over 1,600 residents with developmental disabilities, and that the inclusion of people with developmental disabilities contributes to San Mateo in so many ways. So the lack of affordable housing is the single greatest barrier to achieving the goal of independent living for so many people with developmental disabilities. And we hope this project can move forward. Thank you for your service.
And we have one more speaker, Lori Wadnuki. So I believe it's the last speaker. So we'll go ahead and.
Okay, Sheridan, thank you very much. Mary, can we have our next?
Okay, our next speaker, it looks like the last speaker is Lori Watnuki. Can you hear me, Ellen?
I can now, yeah.
Okay, I don't know why we're having such difficulties, but Lori, you can go ahead and speak.
So
okay. Can you hear me now?
We can, Lori.
Okay. Chair Mallory and members of the Planning Commission, Lori Watanuki from the Central Neighborhood. There are a couple of points I wanted to mention this evening. We wanted to know, with the increase in setbacks and the total floor area being decreased and the changes to the floor plan, what is the square footage of the studios, the 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and the 3 bedrooms? That's one question. And the other question, I had mentioned to Alex Regala that the name Fifth Avenue Garage might encourage more drivers to use Fifth Avenue as a direct route to the garage from the 101 into the freeway versus taking 3rd to Claremont to the garage. And Fifth Avenue route is something we'd like to avoid. And so some other garage names for consideration might be the Kiku Crossing Garage, the Kiku Central Garage, the Central Railroad Garage, or naming the garage after a notable person, such as Greg Sinclair, a former commissioner on the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission. This garage is a private public project. And last, we would like to make Fifth Avenue a safer route, and I'm surprised that construction will begin at the end of the year. But since this will be a bike boulevard on Fifth, we wanted to stress that lighting is inadequate. And so we'd like to make sure that our traffic calming, maybe speed humps, and lighting is, since the lighting is inadequate, and this is an important safety aspect for pedestrians and the bike boulevard, that we'd like to make sure that we have the proper lighting and the proper traffic calming, since this is the natural route to the downtown. Thank you for your consideration.
Ellen, I don't think there's any more speakers. Ellen, can you hear me?
Mary, I think we have lost Lori.
No, she stopped speaking. Oh, we did lose her, though. Oh, no, she's still there, but she stopped speaking.
Okay. Okay. Lori and Sheridan, if you're both still on, if you would email mission staff, we were unfortunately not able. As part of our meeting. So if
Ellen, I think we're having a little bit of an issue with your audio. Is it freezing for you, Ramiro, as well? Is she freezing for you as well?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
This is Christina Horsberger speaking, CDD Director. Chair Mallory, I think that you may want to turn off your video. You're freezing, and I think we're hearing folks that you're not hearing. So I wonder if it may be beneficial to reduce your capacity a little.
So Chair Mallory just said that they locked.
Am I the only?
There she is.
Yes.
One frozen?
Yes. Ellen, can you turn off your video and maybe your capacity will be a little bit better, like Christina?
Turn off. Okay. Turn off what?
Your videos. Just put stop video, in the corner on the left-hand side, right next to the mute button. If you stop your video, it may help, and then we'll be able to hear you better. There you go. And now speak, Ellen.
Okay, now can you hear me when I do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Did any of my requests to have Sheridan and Lori send their comments in, did that come through?
Just partially, you might want to repeat it.
Okay, it would be very helpful to have Sheridan and Lori and Diana. Diana, I think we have your comments in your letters that you sent, but if Sheridan and Lori would send your comments into the planning department, the planning staff, that would be very helpful so that we have all of your comments as part of the meeting record.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us around to comments from the three of us on the project. And Ramiro, would you like to start with your comments?
Yes, I want to see if the applicant can answer some of the comments that Lori Watanuki had asked concerning the square footage of the studio, the 1 bedroom, 2 and 3 bedroom, so we can have it on record.
Sure, I'll go ahead and address that if that works. The unit sizes are consistent with state standards. The studios are average square footage 380 square feet. 1 bedroom's 529 square feet, 2 bedrooms 784, and 3 bedrooms 1,029.
Thank you, Molly. As for my comments, the site designs haven't changed dramatically to change my opinion from the first approval process. I'm understanding that the site design was changed to fit within some specific parameters with some of the utility boxes and things like that. In addition, I like the increased of higher inventory of 2 and 3 bedrooms, and also the increase of open spaces by eliminating the fitness area on the top floor. There's nothing in this modification that would change my opinion on the need for additional affordable housing, especially for lower income individuals in the city. I like the idea that, you know what, we stay within the same 200 and I believe 65 or 35 units. So we're not decreasing units, but we are increasing the different types of variety of units. So those are my comments.
Thank you. John, would you like to comment?
Sure. Thank you, Ellen. These minor revisions all look great. Can't wait to see this project underway. And thank you for all of your due diligence as staff and applicant. Hopefully the next time this project comes to my mind, I'll see construction out on site. So thanks again.
Thanks, John. I echo Ramiro and John's comments. I think the changes that have been made on this are positive. I think the elimination of the stretching room was probably a really good idea. I like more landscaping, and I like more 3-bedroom apartments and 2 bedrooms. So I think that's a positive step for families that have children, and that's always a good thing. So I do wish Mid-Penn the best of luck in their financing. So we'll all hold a positive thought on that. So we need to make our recommend the approval of the resolution. Philip, if you would put that up for us, that would be great.
Sure. Is that showing for you?
Yes, it is.
Great.
So do we have a motion?
I motion that we recommend to the City Council adoption of a resolution approving the site plan and the architectural review modification, including revised and additional conditions of approval to the multifamily residential building located at 480 East 4th Avenue and to the parking garage located at 400 East 5th Avenue.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Sorry, I will second that.
Thank you. Mary, would you call a voice vote, please?
Yes. Chair Mallory,
Yes.
Vice Chair Maldonado,
Yes.
Commissioner Ebnetter,
Yes.
Commissioner Etheridge is absent, and Commissioner Williams is absent.
Thank you. So the motion passes 3-0 with 2 absences. And congratulations, Kiku Crossing. And we will move on to our next item on the agenda, reports and announcements.
Thank you, Chair Mallory. My name is Julia Klein, Acting Planning Manager, and so I do have a few announcements to make. Hold on one second while I pull up my notes. So one of the first things to mention, and I don't know if Chair Mallory, we did receive a submission from Commissioner Mike Etheridge regarding his resignation. As far as we know, the resignation is effective immediately, and we're looking to encourage everybody to spread the word in case you know others that may be interested in the position, and it's a volunteer position, and if there are others that are interested, they can contact Patrice Olds, the city clerk. Additionally, I want to mention that we have upcoming Planning Commission meetings. And I'll go through the agendized items and also request a confirmation from the commission just to make sure that we have a quorum. So the first meeting, which is on Tuesday, May 25th, that's the next meeting coming up. Currently, there are no items at this time. And we'll confirm that with a cancellation notice later this week. So Mary will go ahead and send that out later this week. Next up would be Tuesday, June 8th. There is also no agendized items at this time. We'll need to wait a couple of weeks before we can cancel that meeting, but currently there are no items. The meeting after that is Tuesday, June 22nd. It is a public hearing. There are 2 items. One is the Bay Meadows Mixed Use Block 2 and Mixed Use Block 3 SPAR modification. The second item that evening is a pre-application study session for a new medical office building near the Franklin Templeton campus, which is part of the Bay Meadows Phase 1 area. So for that June 22nd meeting, I just wanted to see if I can get a show of hands for your attendance, just so that we can make sure we have a quorum.
Well, you can't see my hand, but I will be there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's great.
And then, Julia, I wanted to ask while I have you, when would we be voting on our next chair?
We will I will go ahead and reach out to Patrice Old regarding that timing. I don't have the dates memorized, but I'll go ahead and check with Patrice Old and then get back to Chair Mallory and also Vice Chair Romero on that.
Okay.
Through the chair, I believe they're supposed to be handled the first meeting of June.
So I'll go ahead and follow up just to make sure, because I don't know the exact date either. So I'll double check and make sure, and then reach out to the commission.
Okay.
Then we have, I just want to go through, we have 4 additional meetings. 3 of them are community workshops. The first one is going to be on May 18th, and that's a general plan community workshop number 3 to talk about the draft alternatives. We have already hosted 2 of those meetings and received strong interest for an additional one. So again, that's an evening workshop. Community members and the commission can sign up to attend that at strivesanmateo.org, and that's the general plan project website. Then we have 2 additional workshops on the ADU and JADU, and those are on May 26th, which is a Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., and Saturday, May 29th, and that's at 10 a.m. For those interested in signing up for that, you can go to cityofsanmateo.org/what's happening. And from that page, you can click on to the project website to sign up. The third workshop that's going to be out there is going to be on June 1st. And that's a community workshop on Tuesday, June 1st at 6 p.m. And it's going to be on the topic of objective design standards. Now, what this is, it's the City of San Mateo implementing Senate Bill 34, which is streamlining approval process, primarily focusing on multi-unit housing. And so this applies to 2 or more residential units, so properties with 2 or more residential units. And this is basically streamlining the process so that projects that are consistent with zoning code requirements and the objective design standards will be able to go through a faster process. So the project information is also on the What's Happening webpage. So again, www.cityofsanmateo.org/what's happening. So those are the 3 community workshops. One other thing I want to mention, and there was an email that went out to all the boards and commissions. There was a request from Patrice Old, City Clerk, to please set aside Tuesday, June 29th at 5:30 p.m. for a Brown Act training with Assistant City Attorney Gabrielle Whelan. At that time, there will be update on recent state law changes. And then if you have more information or questions about that, please reach out to Patrice Olds, the City Clerk. So that concludes staff's announcements.
This is Gabrielle Whelan, Assistant City Attorney. I did just look in the Planning Commission bylaws to see when the chair and vice chair selection occurs. And the bylaws state that it's to occur at the meeting as close as possible to June 10th of each year.
Super, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And I just wanted to add on to Julia's announcement about Mike Etheridge, which will be a big loss for the commission. He has some very large work commitments and family commitments, and unfortunately, he just didn't feel that he could juggle them all at one time. So I know my fellow commissioners and I will be very sorry to see him go, and those will be some hard shoes to fill. And I do encourage all my fellow commissioners to contact people in the city that they think would be a good addition to our group. So if there is no other business, our meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.